All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I am your host Vinay with my co-host Raj. Raj, how are you doing? It's been 2 days, which might be the shortest turnaround we've had on some of these episodes recently. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I don't think free agency could have gone any better, especially looking at the other deals. I'm getting ready for Vegas in can't do math, but 5 days. So
Yes.
we have Las Vegas coming up, which is always fun. Trying to understand how much clothes and stuff you need for a 3 day. I wouldn't say a binge because you're just watching basketball, but a 3 day kind of trip over there. I'm excited, man. Lakers basketball back tomorrow at 3 p.m. with the California Classic, and we have a nice little schedule put out here for about a few months before we get into the dreadful days in August. But yeah, I'm excited, man. How are you today?
I'm doing good. It's been a good weekend. We're still halfway through, I would say. I think most people have Monday and Tuesday off for 4th of July, I would hope.
Mhm.
But it's been a nice 2 days so far. It was very nice of the Lakers to take care of their business in like the first 48 hours of free agency. That was very nice. It's I'm at like at a point like this point last year. I was just like, bro, what are we gonna do? Who are we gonna sign? Are we gonna trade Russ? What is gonna happen? And this time, I'm like much more relaxed. Like I was, we were talking offline. I was like, I'm way more relaxed as a fan right now. Not just because of the moves that we made, which is what we're going to discuss. We're going to split up today's episode or today's pod as or space as the first half. We'll talk about some of the transactions that have happened. Obviously, the Lakers still have two spots left that they have to fill out. But also, and then the second half, we're probably going to discuss a little bit of the summer league expectations for some of the guys since the summer league's been announced. But dude, I am very calm. I'm like, oh, thank God. Like we took care of business early. We're not sitting around like trying to figure out how we're going to fill like four roster spots or something like that. And so it's just been nice. So why don't we just dive right into it? Like
Yeah.
day one, everybody's anticipating Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock. Everybody's like on pins and
Mhm.
needles. I had people message me. Um, are you anxious? Are you like concerned? Are you worried? And I was like, I have no emotions right now. I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel. What were your feelings up to the actual free agency start?
Yeah, like I expected it to be slow. The Lakers obviously had a lot of their own free agents that they needed to take care of. We spoke about this earlier that restricted free agency is usually like a dirty game. It's usually
Yeah,
like a very, uncomfortable situation, not only for the team, but the free agent as well, right? Because obviously the team has, the utmost control of the contract. The player can go out and go get a deal on his own, and that kind of creates mixed emotions. And then you see the deals kind of that were handed out. Bruce Brown was rumored to the Lakers. We spent a lot of time on our
oh my
show,
god, the whole
um,
episode was about him. But
not
yeah, go ahead.
just predicting Bruce Brown, kind of already putting him in our rotation where he
Yeah,
fits, kind of the 3-and-D wing. And not that that was misplaced because I think that was reported. But then he goes and gets a ballooned offer from Indiana. It's funny. You look at the two non-taxpayer MLE guys, Vinay. I think I said on our last show that half the team had the half the NBA had the knockdown taxpayer MLE to kind
yeah,
of give out. So what that does is gives guys like Bruce Brown, gives guys like Brooke Lopez leverage, right? Because they have all these teams offering
right.
that. You have to go over that bar to get these type of guys, and you look at what those guys signed for: 24 million a year for Brooke Lopez at 35 years old. Bruce Brown gets the 1 year, I think 22 million from Indiana.
Yeah,
We had no chance to match that. Obviously, we pivot to Gabe Vincent, but I was surprised, man. I did not think so. We did our spreadsheet. You made that spreadsheet last time, and those numbers are like extremely close to everyone that came through.
amazingly close. Yeah, so maybe we should do that. We usually don't pat ourselves on the back for being right, but like we should give ourselves, as well as the other folks that were messaging us that are in the space. There's people who messaged me and you afterwards. There's people who commented like, oh, you know what, I think this is what Rui's market's probably going to be. So props to anybody who in the fan base like got the numbers correct, including us,
Mhm.
because you and I had some discussion about what numbers would be ideal for the Lakers to land certain guys at. And you and I both said, look, Rui's deal is probably going to be like an average of like 17 to 18 million. I
Yeah.
think the range we had said, the very highest range was going to be like 20 million. Lakers basically got him at 17 million a year, which is a fantastic number. That's less than
Yep.
DeAndre Hunter, but more than the non-taxpayer MLE. It's not something that
Less
really
than
breaks.
Dylan Brooks. Man,
Less
like
than
that's
Dylan Brooks, yeah.
yeah,
His contract's gonna get compared to so much. Like it's it's crazy. But Houston's just they're doing something crazy over there right now.
sure.
But that number came out excellent. That means that Rui's first year numbers around 15 million for us this year.
Yep.
Like fabulous contract. Austin Reeves, surprise for me. Like I don't know how you felt. Like I expected, both you and I thought, okay, look, he's gonna get more than the total deal size of the early bird rights. But as time continued to go, more teams are using up their non-taxpayer MLE. You see Detroit make a trade to take on, I forget who it was, but they took on somebody to take on a bunch of cap space. Utah made the trade for Collins. So a lot of these cap space teams quickly made trades to absorb guys for picks. Austin's market kind of dried up, and then the news comes out, a day later that Austin, after D'Angelo's contract, which we'll talk about in a second, Austin is basically a standard early birds rights contract, which is like the best case scenario for the Lakers, and that's exactly what we got. What did you think? Those two contracts, Rui's contract, Austin's contract. What did you think about those two?
Again, I'm surprised that it happened so quickly because, again, I think in restricted free agency, those guys could have waited out. You have teams with cap space still. I believe San Antonio still has the cap space now to go and send an offer sheet at Austin Reeves. I believe Rui could have went out and try to get one as well. It was good for the Lakers to I believe they went over the non-taxpayer for Rui, right? That was kind of, I believe, their thinking on that. Just get that done early. Austin's the one I was really surprised at. To get that message that early was really great, and for him to come at that max 4 years, 54, got the player option in the fourth year as well, right? So kind of got everything that he could ask the Lakers for, really, right?
Yeah.
The player option in the last year and the max money amount that he could get, and the Lakers obviously gave that to him. That's the one I was most surprised for. I thought some team would definitely come in, even if, like, obviously the range has been put at the 98 million. Bill Simmons was advocating.
He's such a. I knew you were gonna say he's such a loser, dude. Bill Simmons.
It's not just him, right? Other people are like, hey, just send an offer in. Like, why not? What do you have to lose? He's like, send it, and you don't have to send the $98 million offer. I think we were kind of talking about maybe they send in like the $60-70 million offer, which, again, if you get Austin Reeves at that, I think that's a fair number. But obviously teams were scared off, or they were really de-incentivized to put an offer in to waste their kind of cap space on that. And it looks like Austin, his agent, just decided to go ahead and sign that, and I think that's a steal. You basically get, you get D'Lo and Gabe Vincent for around $30 million. Then you get, Austin at that 12. I think that's just incredible work. Like I did not see that coming. Usually free agency doesn't go as smoothly as this. We've been Laker fans a while. That's just not how this works.
Very true.
Free agency is not a smooth kind of sailing. It usually has a bunch of bumps in the road to it. And this one was as smooth as it could be. Your favorite guy, Dennis Schroeder, got paid by the Toronto Raptors. So that issue is no more. Lonnie Walker goes to the Brooklyn Nets. So those two guys are out the door. Malik Beasley is still trying to find a home. We'll see with Mobamba, but all the rotation pieces are back, and I think that's extremely exciting, especially for team building, continuity, having a training camp with these guys. I think that just it gives you a really nice runway to where you can go ahead and build around those guys, and you don't have to wait till last year. It was like middle August, and we're like, hey, are we going to trade Russ for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield or whatever other packages are out there? And now at least we have a good foundation for what the team is.
Yeah, and then I want to frame some perspective before I continue giving ourselves a pat on the back. Like the thing with Bruce, like I saw a tweet go around like, oh, if Bruce Brown doesn't go to the Lakers and he goes to Indiana, that's like a win for like the rest of the league. And I was like, when did Bruce Brown move the needle like this, where like everybody's rooting for him to sign somewhere other than the Lakers? And what I was told behind the scenes is they had him on lock, and the only thing that stopped it was a team coming in with a larger offer, which is essentially what Indiana did. There was no way we were going to be able to hit 22 million. But look, this is his agent is, it's CAA, and Miles Turner's agency is CAA. And they've both done this same exact thing where they like to, if you've been a Laker fan for any notable period of time, CAA historically loves to use the Lakers as the big boogeyman to get the big contract for their clients when they're free agents. And they did it with Miles Turner. And they I don't know if you remember, but at the trade deadline, like they did that deal where they gave Miles like $30 million of their cap space or some absurd number
Extension.
like that. And it was, and I remember I was sitting there, I was just like, this has got to be like great for Miles and great for that agent that got that deal. But this is like one of the dumbest things I've seen the Pacers do, where they're like, "Oh, we just want to keep your cap hit low, so we're just going to give you a front loaded $30 million payment to like so your cap hit it doesn't spread over your cap." And I was just like, you just gave him money. Like I get that you have to use it, but you couldn't find anybody to use that cap space on. Anyways, that's just my gripe. Non-Laker fans trying to celebrate whether we get players at good value or whatever guys that we get is a tradition as old as time. So again, like Bill Simmons is a bozo. Like everybody's a bozo. Like if you wanted Austin to get $100 million, like even you and I said, like we're happy if Austin gets $100 million offer. Like we're gonna match it anyway.
Oh, you match that. You match that in the Ayton, Indiana situation.
Yeah.
You send that fax right back. Yeah.
But the people are like, no, just do it so you can mess up their cap sheet. It's like, all right, dude, get a life. Like there's no way that this matters this much to you. But Rui was a great number. Austin was a great number. That TV deal hits the cap eventually, and the salary cap will raise significantly. They can re-enter the market when they want to. And then one of the right before the Austin signing was the D'Lo signing. Wasn't on day one, ended up being on day two. You and I were both speculating after all the flurry of signings. There's still a couple more we have to go through, but a flurry of signings. I was like, D'Lo's number should have came in already. Like we should all know it's either 20 to 22 million. There's nothing else that we can fit in. And so I personally started getting a little like in the back of my mind, I'm like, are they going to sign and trade him, or is CAA trying to find somewhere to send him? And we get the news that they signed him on a 2-year deal. Very reasonable, better.
Oh yeah,
honestly, a better number than even you and I predicted. I said if we get him at 20, that's great, and he got him for less than that. As in like 20 a year. We got him for less than that, and or right about that number. And so that ended up being a fantastic number. What were your thoughts? Like, what did you think when that D'Lo news? By the way, we all know everybody was rate limited yesterday, so it was like I couldn't see anything on Twitter. But yeah, go for it.
Really quickly on the point, you said that TV, that TV money is coming in.
Yeah,
I feel like that's being used as a license to just throw around money. Like I understand that from a concept perception, right? Like yes, you look at a contract in terms of its percentage hit on your cap. You still can't give Fred VanVleet 40% of your cap. Like I'm sorry, that's just not. Or you can't give Domantas Sabonis whatever he just a $207 million extension. That's neither here and there. The D'Lo extension though, I think we spoke about it. His number was kind of at 20 million, and then we went through the teams. I went through the teams. I was like, he's in that weird position, like I was saying, where he's not a guy you're giving your offense the keys to. He's like 27, so you're not betting on the upside. He's kind of in this strange area where he's like your starting guard. And to me, like there was no team with cap space that was about to throw him a $22 million deal, which again, as CAA, they must know the market, right? They must know his situation. They know what's going on. I thought that's an incredible deal to get him at 2 years, 37, 18 and a half. Like I said, he wasn't coming back here for 15. Like
for sure not. Yeah.
And that might not look like a big difference. It is. It's a 15 to like 18 and a half for D'Angelo Russell. A big difference in his market. He also has a bigger cap hold coming. Well, he's on a player option next year. So we'll see if he picks that up. But I think that's just a great deal for both sides. If he picks that up, he's a trade piece, right? If not, then he didn't have a good year and you keep him for one more season. Whatever. Like it's a really good team and player contract. And I thought his was the most shocking. I think both of us kind of agreed that Rui would come in at that 18 number, but I mean, you got to start, D'Lo's likely going to be your starting guard next year at like 18 and a half. I just think that's really great. You look at all the guards together, 30 for D'Lo and Gabe Vincent, and then Austin as well at that 12 number. So what, 42 for your like backcourt. That's to me is incredible to get that those guys at that number. So great job by Rob. He really, cooked. We'll see like what he can do with the backup center spot and stuff like that. But for now, I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect segue, and it's a nice inflection point to give. Like Rob doesn't get like, even for me, like I give Rob a lot. I think everybody gives Rob a lot of crap, which some of it, as a disclaimer, we'll say is rightly deserved. But when it comes to these three extension re-signings, Austin, D'Lo, and Rui, he did an excellent job. Like every number, like it's not even one like, oh, I'm happy we got it. It's like, whoa, this is way better than we thought it was going to be. And I would imagine that's like the consensus kind of, that's a response from the fan base in regards to extensions. But it's a perfect inflection point because now we can talk about the new guys. We brought back 3 of the old guys, but we've now brought a couple new guys aboard. Yep. And we might as well start with the guy that took our entire, that got our entire non-taxpayer MLE, which was Gabe Vincent. Before I get into that, I did hear the murmurings about Dennis Schroeder getting a chunk of this non-tax family, and I'm not going to lie to you, Raj. Thank you to Dennis Schroeder for his services for 2 years and everything that he's done so far. And there's a nice story from Dave McMenamin. I thought it was a little fishy that it came out the day before free agency. I was like, usually somebody doesn't release it this late. That means something's going on with maybe he's not getting the deal that he wants or whatever it is. But I'm not gonna lie, I got worried. I was like, dude, if we give this dude our entire non-taxpayer Emily, that's not good. Like that's not, that's gonna be like
Sure.
it's gonna undo everything else. But we signed Gabe Vincent, who neither you nor I thought was going to be available to us. UC Santa Barbara kid, Gauchos. What was your reaction? What was your thought about Gabe signing?
I don't know about you. Obviously, it was widely reported that that was an option. I just never bought. I mean, I think I told you this too. I just never bought the split the MLE into 2 contracts. Like to me, I just never bought that as a real situation because that kind of negates the whole reasoning by doing this whole thing for hard capping yourself. It's to get you into another tier of player, right? If you're gonna split it between Dennis Schroeder and Eric Gordon, for say, I know you hated that idea, but like I like if that was an idea to me, that just made no sense. So I never bought that. I thought they would have a player in mind. Obviously, Bruce Brown was that guy. They pivoted to Gabe Vincent. I think this was probably the best you can get. I think he fills that Dennis Schroeder role of backup point guard. The only difference is he can actually shoot. I think he's I don't know how much better or worse of a defender he is. I think it's more neutral than like people are giving it credit for. His shooting numbers, Vinay, aren't great. He was shot 33% last year.
Yeah.
But to me, though, if you add the context to that, he's not a guy that's just taking open shots. He's a guy that takes a lot of not just contested. Like he's a guy when he starts getting hot, he'll take heat checks, right? He'll just pull up in transition. He takes tough ones too, step back jumpers. When I was watching their Heat run, I think I compared him to like our Austin Reeves. Go watch a ton of the end of games for Miami. They put the ball in Gabe Vincent's hands. They're like, hey, Jimmy, you go stand in the corner. Bam, come set the screen or stand at the dunker spot. And Gabe Vincent would isolate. He'd come off pick and rolls. He has the mid-range game as well. The issue with Dennis with the pick and roll is his shot was just so slow. It takes like 5 seconds to shoot. Gabe Vincent is not that. He's also tough. And I think I said on our last show, I was like, our biggest need was like physicality and toughness. And that's like something that was hard to quantify. I think Gabe Vincent kind of fits that. To me, he's a tough nose guard. He doesn't get rattled. He's not a guy that you can ball pressure full court and he'll shy away. He's a guy that really steps up to the moment. And I put a lot of stock into playoff performance. And maybe the shooting is an outlier. We'll see. But I think all the other stuff isn't. All the floaters, all getting to the basket, the sidestep in the mid range, like that's all stuff to me that he has. You get a guy out of the Miami system. He's 27 years old. I think this is a great deal. He is small. He's 6'2". I think he can play with Austin. And if D'Lo's not closing games in the playoffs, so I liked it. What'd you see from Gabe Vincent?
Yeah, that's definitely one of I think the theme of a lot of the guys that we signed we try to sign tough guys, like guys that'll be physical, guys that'll be athletic, guys that have like sort of a tough personality. And Gabe is one of those guys for that whole Miami team was like that. They could not completely out talent other teams, because other teams are more talented than they were, but they would out execute them or they would out tough the other team, like they wouldn't settle for jumpers. Sometimes they just go to the rim. Gabe was one of those guys that did that. And he does have a little bit of, he's going to go and play for the Lakers next to LeBron and AD. There's a little bit more of a superstar gravity that he can work off of, the same way we kind of said for Austin. We said the same thing about Lonnie. Like you and I, what we both like to do is we'll watch a guy play and we'll say, okay, what is he good at? And what is he not good at? And we did this with Lonnie where we said, well, Lonnie's really good at getting to the rim. Lonnie's really good at, finishing through physical stuff. And then, he had his deficiencies. But like one of the things that we were able to see was like the pattern. Like once Lonnie gets 2 layups at the rim, all of a sudden his jumper is following. And the thing with Gabe that I like to see is like he likes to muck things up. And the more physical the game is, it seems like the better he gets, the more impactful he can become. And for us, frankly, again, he's not significantly bigger than Dennis, but he plays bigger, and Dennis did too.
Yep.
But his build seems bigger than Dennis's, right? Dennis was very slender, very slithery, but he was still tough. He'd absorb contact, get around screens, take charges, all that sort of stuff. Feels like Gabe does all that stuff, but he's a little bit more stout as a player defensively. So like I honestly feel like that's where we're going to see his initial impact. Like he's going to be a tough guy. Just comes off the bench, plays really tough defense. I don't want to say he's like Caruso, but like if you remember what Caruso's toughness was like, he was taking elbows to the faces, to the
Yeah.
face. Like Gabe strikes me as that kind of guy. That's what I saw a lot, out of him during that Miami run.
He's a gamer, right? Like that's what I
Yeah,
think I loved about him. Like he had the shot over Tatum in the in the conference finals game 2 to ice that one, and that was after, people forget, he missed the 2 free throws, right? So like I
yeah,
believe he missed, oh no, sorry, he fouled Tatum at the
yeah,
3-point line or something like that. Tatum hit
something
2
like
free
that. Yeah,
throws, and then he comes back and they run the play for him. He drives less on Tatum, little step back, hits a jumper over him, and then you watch the Knicks series. That series gets lost because the Knicks just shitted the bed in that series with a damaged Jimmy Butler. But Gabe Vincent closed a lot of those games as well with Jimmy, on kind of one leg there. So I think he's like a big shot maker. Again, toughness is a trait that he has, and I love his pick and roll game. His numbers in the pick and roll aren't great, but like the way he uses screens is really nice. It's really crafty.
yeah,
He's 6'2", so he's a guy that has to use ball screens, and
yeah.
we've really become a ball screen offense. If you notice, like our team has kind of switched over to that. Austin's obviously high ball screen user. D'Angelo Russell, obviously LeBron has set a couple more screens now, has become more of a screen setter. So Gabe Vincent, another guy that fills that need. Him in with AD, worked well with Bam, was a guy that you can't go under, especially in the playoffs with, and was able to get to that mid-range area. Another thing I love, Vinay, I think he shot 91% from the line in the playoffs. I think he shot
We
like
love that. Yeah,
88%, in the regular season. So a really good, foul shooter as well. Again, a short guy, another, short defender that you're going to have to compensate for on that end sometimes if, he doesn't have a point of attack role. But I think, again, at $11 million, you just weren't getting a better player than Gabe Vincent, I think. And it really shores up your guard rotation to me, as, you have really 3 now really playable guards that can't be played off the floor on offense. So I thought that was a really great signing by them.
yeah, and then like I think one of the things that you and I have both said that is a lot of people like more than obviously the sweep to Denver was a big thing, and I think a lot of people had knee-jerk reactions to how we lost because we lost. It was a sweep. But, you and I both said all of those games came down to the wire, and I think both we agreed that like maybe if our stars played a little bit better, and obviously they're compromised. AD was compromised with his ankle, and Braun's foot was compromised. If we get maybe a healthier version of those two guys, then we probably we have a more competitive series. We win 1 or 2 games, or maybe we even win the series altogether, based on what was going on. But we needed tough guys. We needed the defense to match up in transition. That's another thing that I think a lot of these signings sort of signify. Like there's a response to, hey, okay, we have to also sign guys that are going to be not only physical on the perimeter in the half court, but we need guys that'll be physical in transition too. They're not just going to give up guys. And Gabe is one of those guys. And I like it. Vando, obviously we're bringing him back. He's another guy who's really, really good in transition. He would tag his guy, press guys full court. So it's just that theme. You want to continue that theme. Like Braun and AD, when they're available, are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to scoring. We need guys that understand how to play off of stars, and Gabe is definitely one of those guys. And then the next guy that we use our biannual exception on. Again, another pat on the back to both me and Raj and anybody who agreed with us on this. We did a rapid fire session in the last space. And I remember distinctly mentioning Taurean Prince's name as the NTMLE, an MLE candidate. And we both said, no, that's too much for a guy like him. But at least I hope I'm right. I don't remember putting the clip, so I hope we both agreed on this. We both said that he's probably a good BAE signing, a biannual exception signing. And that's exactly what he ended up getting. And, rangy forward, rebounds, can get hot from 3, but can be a streaky guy. Both Gabe and Taurean are not world beaters. They're not like you added them and now you're like, oh, we're winning the championship now for sure, right?
No.
That's not what we're saying. But these are guys that know who they are and know how to play off of other guys, the 2 stars that are in their roles. That Taurean played off of, who am I thinking of? And Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, and they just understand it. Talk to me about Taurean Prince. Where do you see him fitting in?
Yeah, so to that point, like you're adding to a conference finals team, right? That's the point of this. These are additions. You're not starting from scratch. So these all the players being added have to be put into that context. Torian Prince, just another wing. We've been, the whole fan base has been begging for wings. You got one, and they're usually more. There's a reason that he went for the biennial exception. Like, he's not a perfect player. Again, I think he's a more streaky shooter than he shows, but he shot 41% Vinay on catch and shoot threes last season.
Mhm.
He had, he's going into his 9th year in the league. He's 29, just a guy that knows what he is, right? Like, I think he's just a solid wing. He's 6'7". I believe he can kind of switch on the perimeter. Not a great defender, but a good defender, just a solid one that knows his role. I was shocked that he went for that kind of little as well. I thought,
Yeah.
usually wings go for a little bit more than that. Again, you look at the contracts kind of being dished out this summer, very 2016-ish in terms of the contracts that went out. He was obviously someone they had on their mind. I think he was our first signing, if I have that right. I believe Torian Prince was the first guy that we signed.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was the first guy that we got before any of the extensions were that came out. So yeah, I think just a nice guy to have in your roster. Again, you're just looking for dudes that are playable, that can't really be played off the floor, don't have weakness because I think when I think about role players, Renee, I'm looking at guys that where you can kind of just slot them in different places. Their weaknesses don't come out so much to the forefront where, like, okay, this guy has such a glaring hole that we have to compensate our team for that, and it's just not worth it with a role guy. So you really want a guy that kind of can fit a bunch of different needs. I think Prince fits that. He can play the 2 or the 3, maybe the 4 in some instances, but really a 2, 3, 6, 7 forward. And like we always say, you can't have enough of those guys. So now you have a really nice deep, I think, rotation with that. We'll see where Max fits in. But I think Torian Prince, just a solid NBA pro, played like 59 games, I believe, last year. Before that, I think he was in like the 60s. So a guy that has been kind of relatively healthy throughout his career. He had a couple, I think he had like a 29 game season with the Cavs a couple years ago. But other than that, I feel like just, again, solid 38% from 3 last season, 41% on his catch and shoot threes, 9 points in around 20 minutes. I feel like Minnesota just kind of had a glut of guys in his position to where, he just didn't have that big of a role, but solid pickup to me. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's, obviously he was sort of odd man out with Jaden McDaniels, like the emergence of him as a player. Obviously, they have to figure out his captain and Naz Reid also getting paid by Minnesota too as well. Again, one underrated part that you did mention, like Torian has played 54 games. He played 54 games last season, 69 games the year before that. I think he was injured his last season in Brooklyn before he got traded. But before that, he played 64 games, then 55, then 82, then 55. And then same thing with Gabe. Gabe's played 2 back-to-back 60-plus seasons, not including the extended games that he's played and going into the postseason. So, like, durability was something that they sort of paid attention to as well. 6'8" guy, long arms, rebounds. You might not get a ton. Like, I feel like his rebounding is probably better than what the Minnesota system allowed because they had 2 bigs. So he probably wasn't crashing the glass as much. But you look at his shooting numbers, like I pulled up his shooting numbers on cleaning the glass. 39% from the 3 last year. That's a 74th percentile. That's extremely good. 77th percentile the year before. That's 38%. And then, his first few years when he was playing with Atlanta, I think he played with that Atlanta team that it might have been the Budenholzer Atlanta team, or I can't remember exactly.
It was right after that stint. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he's a good shooter, especially from the corner 3. That's where they like to park him. We haven't really had super great corner 3 shooters like in our offense in general. So again, Gabe, a guy who's a gamer. Torian, a guy who's a gamer. I think there was a game, I think Laker fans have mentioned it. There was a game where, like, the Lakers were just keeping him, letting him stay open. It might have been the playing game. Like, they were leaving him open and he was just making every 3 in LA or something. I forgot where it was.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was just having a game against us. I think it might have been like one of those games where, like, Braun was just like, I'm not going to guard this guy. Like, just, if you can beat us, we'll see. Lakers ended up winning the game, but, Torian made it a game. And so it's like, we want guys like that, like, if somebody's going to try and disrespect you, you're not going to let them disrespect you. You're not going to play me off the floor by leaving me wide open and do that. So the theme continues to fit. We added 2 guys who I think will be mainstays in the regular season rotation and can definitely play minutes in the playoffs.
He's kind of been to me in that Royce O'Neal kind of, place right there. Like, to me, remember we were asking to trade not trade the whole first, but to trade down to get Royce O'Neal, to trade 17 for 22 or something like that, which I think both of us would have been okay with. But, like, to me, he's in that kind of player where he's kind of in that role where can hit threes, just a solid role guy. I think he's more of like a gamer as well. He has a little celebration where he does like the Steph Curry like sleeping celebration or something like that.
Lakers Twitter told me that he was doing it before Steph Curry, so we're gonna have
Okay.
to do some forensics on that to figure out who was doing it first. Because if it was Torian Prince, then I think the Lakers guy was doing it before the Warriors guy was. But we'll figure that out later.
Yeah, so we got time to dissect and investigate that. Yeah, like again, just another gamer, tough guy. I think that again, just been in the league, 29 years old, hitting his prime. Don't really think of that for role players, but like just hitting that prime of like, okay, this is what I do in the league. This is how I get paid, kind of guy. That's not really coming in to try to make his name, or not that that's a wrong thing. It's just like we're in a winning situation, winning environment. I think that's the exact type of guys you go for. 6'7", long wingspan kind of guy that can hit the outside shot and doesn't go out of his realm, right? He's not a guy that's gonna like call for a screen and take like a step back mid-range jump. That's just not in his game. He's a guy that's gonna really be solid, play his role, play hard, rebound. And you got that at the final exception. I'm not sure there were any real other guys at that level that you could have got in that situation. So
yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think like one of the things as all the signings were happening, because apparently everybody had a ton of time since Elon was trying to destroy this app the past 2 days. Like one of the things that you and I were discussing is like, aside from like the tough guys, like I was just like, none of the guys that have been signed so far with the actual MLE, the big MLE,
right,
or the biennial exception around the league, like there was nobody that got signed where I was like, damn, I wish we had gotten him instead. Like instead of either of the two guys that we got. So I think like that's kind of a thing too, because there's always like a little bit of buyer's remorse when we do some of these signings. Like when we did Lonnie, because he was so unproven because of what was going on with the Spurs situation. Like a lot of people felt like that was not a good signing. Obviously, you could still say that maybe it wasn't a good signing. We could have gotten somebody else. Before the individual production that we got out of Lonnie, obviously wins us Game 4 against the Warriors in the playoffs. Was productive when he was on the court. He worked out far better than the guy that we used the previous MLE on. So that was, it is what it is. But I feel good about that. I like the Gabe signing. I like the Torian signing. Obviously, we want everybody to stay healthy as much as they possibly can and stay durable and be available. So that'll always be a big part of it. But again, these are guys that kind of know how to play around stars. They've had to play around stars for most of their careers. So they should be natural fits when they come off the bench or whatever role they play.
Right. I remember we were doing the rapid fire and you asked, and we talked about DiVincenzo. I was like, I think I asked you, would you give DiVincenzo the full MLE? And you said no.
I said no.
The Knicks went ahead and gave him the full MLE. So it's interesting just looking at the contracts. I remember people were like, yeah, Dylan Brooks really cost himself a lot of money. I guess he didn't. I mean, he went and got the full $20 million a year from Houston. So, but yeah, I just think like that. If the whole team if the whole league has a contract to offer, then all those guys at the top of that list have the leverage to go ask for more. So that's why you just have no chance for Bruce Brown. Brook Lopez, again, probably used Houston as leverage to get more money from Milwaukee. You know what I mean? That's just how the business and the league works. So yeah, there's no other guy to me that I saw where I was like, damn, that guy we missed out on. Trying to think of one now, but I don't see it. Again, Bruce Brown was probably the top of our wish list. That was impossible. Lakers couldn't afford him for $24 million or whatever he went into Indiana for. So
and I was gonna say the other thing was also like the using cap space leverage. Like even guys like Kuz was probably expecting $30 million. Draymond was probably expecting, like I was legit told, like Draymond was expecting $30 to $35 million. Because he wanted $100 million 3-year contract, which is what that $33 million is what it averages out to. But the Warriors weren't ready to give him that. They wanted to give him $100 million, but they didn't want to give him at that cap number because the tax implications for them is enormous. And obviously now it's still enormous unless they like get off of Chris Paul's contract or whatever it is. And they end up giving him a 4th year. So they say, look, we can't get him to come down, but he wants his total dollar. So we're just going to give him the 4th year. And, if you ask Warrior fans, they'll be like, okay, we're happy we brought him back. He's a core part of everything that they've ever done, in their recent success. But $100 million over 4 years, that contract lasts, I think, longer than his player options the same year where like Steph is a free agent. Steph's not going anywhere, but it's just like you can get the apprehension behind it, right? So there is one thing I want to ask you because nobody's talked about it yet. At least I haven't seen it. Austin, Rui, Gabe, I want to say Torian too. I might be wrong on Torian. They've got contracts that go beyond like they've got contracts that look like they can stay beyond, if Braun decides to retire after this season, or Anthony
Sure.
Davis opts out, or all that sort of stuff. Did you have any thoughts about the lengths of these contracts? Did you think anything of it? Did you think because Rui got a 3-year, 51 million contract,
Hmm.
and
No options, I believe, on that
right,
contract. Fully
right, and
guaranteed.
and Austin's is a full. I think it's a 3+1 is what
Right.
Austin's is. So it's like, I didn't think that would happen. Honestly, I thought everything would be like a
Okay.
2-year contract, because I was like, they're not going to go beyond Braun's thing. But it feels like maybe the front office is like, okay, you know what? Like, we believe in these guys. And they're not bad players. You could trade them too if you ever had to down the line. What did you think about that? Did anything come to you when you saw those contracts?
Do you remember we discussed this, I think, like a year ago, where it was like I think this was part of your Rob Pelinka criticism, was like every contract was
I have many.
basic. Oh yeah, this is one of the on the list, that every contract was kind of based for cap space. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like every contract was specifically tailored to get cap space the next summer. It's like we kept kicking this can down the road. It was like, yeah, we don't want to sign anyone past 1 year. I'm like, well, if you do that, you're out of a tier of players, because the amount of players that are coming for 1 year, that's a very small pool to pick from. So I like that they haven't done that. And I think we said this before, like if you can pay good players, you can invest in good players, you can move those guys later. It was always to me a fallacy to be like, no, because we can't move them. If we sign them for 2 years and we're not able to move them, we won't be able to have full cap round to go chase. Remember the guys were like Kyrie Irving or whoever else it was. And now I like that they, structured these deals to where, they are longer term deals, and these are more attractive deals. If Rui Hachimura plays the way we think he is, Austin Reeves, we obviously believe is going to have continue to get better, or at least stay at where he was this last season. Those are good deals that you're not saying to trade those guys, but like that, those are deals that you can move in the event that a star that is worth packaging players for to go get, right? And then I like that they've done that. I don't think you can move. Obviously, LeBron's decision. I don't think he's retiring. I think he posted every player that we signed on Instagram.
That was nice. That was kind of cool. Yeah, that was very cool to see.
Let's just say he did not do that last year. Let's just say like that's not something that he did last season. But yeah, so this season it looks like he posted every player. I believe he'll be back. Anthony Davis's extension, I believe, is available this summer.
I think he's extensionable in August. If
in
I
August,
remember,
okay.
Eric's writing. Eric Pincus. I think we give him a shout out pretty much every time now, because he's our resident Lakers expert, salary cap guy.
Sure.
But he's. I think he said he's extension eligible in August.
Yeah, I expect that extension to be given and to sign, at least from what I've heard. So yeah, I think it's fine to and I think these are all guys that can build with AT, with whoever. Like I think these are just guys on young deals. You're not paying any. That's why I think both of us had some apprehensions on the Brook Lopez. It's like, dude's 35. I understand it from Milwaukee's perspective, but I mean, if you're trying to build with a core, and I think this is what this is a core of young nucleus guys who are in their mid to late 20s. You give them, longer term deals, and even some of them are 2+1s or whatever it is. I just think it was really great, asset quote unquote management or cap management, or however you want to put it. I just think this was done as the best that it could be. So I think it's great that they had longer deals.
Yeah. I think any way you kind of slice it up, it's really fantastic. When you look at the, obviously there's guys that like Eric Gordon just signed for the veteran minimum today with the Suns. Once you start getting into like the veteran minimum territory, it becomes very picky. A lot of people think that it's like picking scraps off the table, but nowadays veteran minimums are not like that. Like these guys are actually more particular about where they go, because they need playing time to get a bigger contract, and the family, if they're not going to be getting paid very much, then maybe they do want to stay closer to their families so they can at least get something out of it for these veteran guys and stuff. So like you see that with Eric Gordon, you would have thought his market would have been, at least a biannual exception somewhere. And he took a veteran minimum to go to the Suns for whatever reason, whatever his motivation is behind it. But this is a nice transition to, the veteran minimum guys that we've kind of picked up. Yeah. The Lakers went young. They did not continue the theme of veteran or semi-veteran rugged guys. I mean, they're still rugged, but they went young. And the first guy they signed was a guy that we discussed, which we had earmarked. And a lot of people think I'm like putting them down when I say this. I'm not putting them down when I say this, but like Cam Reddish is our clutch guy. Like he is the clutch role player guy that's going to get minutes in our rotation. This is not
the stimulus package.
Yeah, he's going to get the Lakers stimulus package. And Look, dude, I've watched Cam in Atlanta. You know, Cam obviously didn't play very much in New York. He had a couple, nice notable games in New York. Had a couple notable games in Portland. A lot of
Sure.
people have said that this is it. You know, like if Cam can't pop here, he's probably not going to pop anywhere else. He might be done in the league. We heard that about Lonnie. We heard that about Troy. You know, Troy. Lonnie's in Brooklyn. I think Troy. I forgot. I think he went to Minnesota.
Yes.
So
Few years.
Cam is, he's built differently. He's more of a Paul George sized player. A lot of people gave him that comp, even though Paul George was, really polished as a ball handler and stuff like that when he came into the league, and especially as a shooter. So Cam is going to be the guy that both you and I said we're for sure signing this dude as long as he doesn't get more than a min. We got him on a min.
Sure.
I think the second year is a player option. He's been linked to the Lakers since forever, it feels like, since he stepped into the league. And
Yeah.
now we have him. And he's another rangy guy. A lot of people are talking about his offense. I actually like Cam's defense. Like he plays the passing lanes really well. He I don't know if I'd say he sits down, but like he's able to like he's good at containment. You know what I mean? Like he's a good player in that respect. Scoring, he can do a little bit more than just stand around and shoot threes. Like he can attack the rim. He's got decent handle. He's got decent finishing package. But the thing I've heard about him is he's just not consistent. He's not consistently consistent. And that's been the biggest knock on him. And that's kind of been the theme with the next guy also, Jackson Hayes. But let's talk about Cam. What do you think that we can get out of Cam? How many minutes do you think he gets off rip? He's going to be the guy that Bron's going to be like, for sure. He's going to get into camp and Bron's going to be like, yo, the Lakers got this guy, Cam Reddish. It's like, you already know who he is. Don't act like you haven't been watching him the whole time. But like, I think he's going to be high on Cam for sure.
He's gonna be like the first one, at dinner with AD, LeBron. And it's like Cam sitting there at the same table. And I remember, like you were saying, like if he doesn't get more than the minimum, I was like, he's not getting more than the minimum. Like I knew right away, that Cam would be on this team. No, look, I mean, Cam Reddish has to show that he's first like an NBA playable rotation guy. Like to me, again, not that my flags matter, but I just throw some flags when he's a top 10 pick. This is a third team already in 4 years. That's like. No, we're good in the Cam Reddish business. And like he got traded from Atlanta, he got traded from New York, Portland as well traded him as well. But like it's just I got to see if he's an NBA player. He shot 31% from three last year, shot 30% from three the previous year, shot 25% from three his second year, and then his rookie year he did shoot 38% from three. That's currently actually a couple years ago he shot 38% from three. But yeah, like I'm interested to see what he is. And this is like my thing, and I'm interested with this. I think Jackson Hayes has more of a shot to be in this kind of situation, but is he a guy that believes he's just a 3-and-D wing? Like, is that what he thinks he is? That's my question with that. Does he feel like, because that's not what he was coming out of Duke, right? Like he was a guy that had the ball in his hands that like I believe can attack and stuff like that. And I just wonder if that's where he's at in his career, where he's just going to buy into that role, and maybe the coaching staff can get that out of him. I think we have one of the best player development staffs in the league as well. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's able to, rehabilitate his value, just like Malik Monk did, just like Lonnie Walker did. Lonnie Walker to a lesser extent, but just like Malik Monk did and other guys that we've had come through this system. Troy Brown went and got a non-minimum deal, right? Because he played for the Lakers, went and got a 2-year, $8 million deal. Congratulations to him. But yeah, I'm interested to see it, man. I don't. Is he ahead of Max Christie right now? I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. I think that's like the training camp battle. What I do know, Vinay, he's gonna get a shot. He'll get a
for sure.
He'll get a legit shot. You're not gonna see Cam Reddish hasn't played in 20 games. Like that's not happening. He's getting a shot in preseason, maybe a couple, games in the rotation to start. Like he's gonna get his opportunity to play, and if he is able to make do on that, I think the talent at least is there. We'll see if like it actually leads to the production. But again, he's not on a team where you can give him 50 reps a game and say he's not on Houston. Like maybe Houston's trying to win, who knows? But like if he's not on San Antonio or on Orlando or like those teams where, hey, here Cam, like let's find out what you're not good at, what you're good at, give you the ball. That's not the situations he's in. He's in a winning environment where every defensive possession, are you boxing out? Are you tough on the boards? Are you focused on off-ball defense? That's the type of stuff to me for a lottery pick. Those are tough transitions, and I'm not sure that like before. I don't think he's gotten his first big contract yet, right? I don't think he
No, he
has. He's
hasn't.
still on his rookie deal, if I have
Yeah.
that correctly.
Yeah, so
So
Rui,
like,
his restricted free agency would have been the same, like it's the
mm,
same way Rui's was, but Portland elected. They let him. I think they pulled his qualifying offer. Or they pulled it, or
right.
they just declined to give him a qualifying offer.
Right. He didn't get the qualifying offer. Yeah. So like to me, like he's in that territory where he's trying to get a second contract, as he
Mhm.
should. But is the Lakers the place to do that? Where he's obviously going to get the visibility, but I think his role is going to be separate from what would actually get him paid. So that's what I'm interested in. What'd you think of the Cam Reddish signing that was predicted by us?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think most of the Lakers Twitter probably predicted Cam would end up on the Lakers.
Oh
Even
yeah,
even the writers, as soon as his qualifying offer was pulled or whatever, they were like, "Oh
go
yeah,
ahead
Cam's
and
gonna end up. Yeah,
go
he's
ahead
going
and
to
look for
LA."
homes in LA, Cam. Yeah,
Yeah. I think he's a young kid.
sure.
They probably look at him the same way that they looked at Rui's situation, where Rui he
Mm,
was stuck behind a couple guys in Washington. It's hard to say whether he fell out of favor or if he just wasn't like locked in, mentally
hmm
because he didn't know what his situation would be in Washington if he'd get paid or not, whatever it was. Cam is another kid, is another guy who strikes me as somebody who he did get drafted pretty high. There's that famous video of Anthony Edwards saying that he was just torching everybody in whatever the AU camps or whatever it is that they're doing.
hmm
One of the things I think is unique in this Lakers situation is there's real expectations for him if he gets minutes with us. Like there's real
mm,
expectations of, oh, you have to actually do something. You don't get to pout on the bench. You don't get to go into practices or training camps. I'm not saying this happened, but if this was happening in like Atlanta or New York, or even in Portland,
He
Portland, I
was
think it's more
reported
just,
at I think it was
yeah,
reported in Atlanta, right? He was unhappy with the
yeah,
minutes, or maybe in New York where Tibbs just wouldn't play him. But like, I
yeah.
think there was some situations there. But sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. But like Portland, I could see that the reason why they didn't bring him back is because they're probably thinking to themselves, "Look, we just paid Jeremy Grant a ton of money. Cam may be out of our budget, and then obviously Dame is going to leave. They've got Scoot, they've got Shaden, they still have Simons. Now they're going to
hmm
trade Dame. They may bring back guys, not have minutes for Cam in general. Like I think a lot of times people look at these sort of situations when it comes to guys like Lonnie and Cam and even Rui, and they go, oh, "This guy sucks." That's why teams are getting rid of him, and that's what I see with a lot of people say about Cam. Like they're just like, well, "This guy just sucks. He's just a terrible basketball player." You don't get drafted that high if you're a terrible basketball player. There's a lot of
Sure.
scouts that see you that are telling teams that you're worth a 10th pick, and he hasn't had serious injuries. They also know about bad attitude and bad IQ, and he still got drafted top 10. So I'm not saying that he should be thrown away or whatever it is. I think his situation is just a little unique. He is a clutch guy. Those guys tend to move around a little bit before they finally find a place, unless they're like a clear cut superstar. Um, I think he's going to get minutes. I think he's going to be a standout. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's a standout in our camp. When they do the training camp and stuff like that. I won't be surprised if we hear writing about him. Being a standout. He'll probably come off the bench. They'll keep his offensive role, I think, to a minimum, meaning not a
Sure.
minimum, but like more concentrated. He won't have to come in and have to put up a bunch of points for the Lakers. There won't be that expectation, but I think there will be an expectation about his defense. Like they'll expect him to be good on the perimeter, chase around screens, clamp guys in isolation
Yeah.
situations because he's got wingspan and all that sort of stuff. And that's why I keep saying, like, I think that's where we see his impact. Like you're going to see him be a really good defender. He's his percentiles in like its steal rate are super high for a guy that's his size. That's a Paul George thing. Paul George is really good at reading passing lanes and stuff like that. I think that's what we're going to see. And if he can knock down a couple threes while doing that, remember, you don't have to have Troy
Sure.
Brown didn't have amazing numbers for the Lakers. He just did a really, really good job defensively and knocked them down and stayed durable and stayed available. If Cam can give us that, and maybe some cool on ball stuff that he's pretty talented getting to the rim, that sort of stuff. I think he can certainly play up his value and be a productive guy. But Troy was very productive for us in the regular season. But
Well,
yeah,
that's the comp. That's the comp I had for him. Really, is the Troy Brown comp, right? Troy Brown, a guy that got passed around in the league, really from Washington to Chicago
yeah,
before he came here on the minimum. Both of them are both 6'7". I think Cam obviously is more talented, I believe, than Troy Brown. At least I think coming out of the draft. But yeah, like I think you put super talented guys in super specialized roles where they only have to focus on one thing, right? Cam's gonna be like, hey, attack a closeout if you don't have it, hit your open shots. Like that's it. Like that's your role. You don't have to play make too much. Your reads are simple. They're specialized, and you can be successful with that. And I think Phil Handy is a guy that's gonna be in his year. Phil Handy, who obviously attached himself to Rui Hachimura a ton. You can see how much their connection is. I'm sure that's another guy that he'll kind of attach himself to. He already has the clutch connection, the LeBron connection, all that stuff. Obviously, I think whether he plays well or not, you're gonna hear the he's dominating camp. I think that's something that's just gonna come out anyway. Like I think that's a low bar that will be hit.
Who does it? Who does it come? I'm not going to say the names of the authors because you know
Oh
which
yeah, I don't
ones
want to
are
do
going to write
that.
it. But is it coming from ESPN or is it coming from the Athletic first? Who?
Oh,
Or if you want, I'll
well,
say it because
yeah, no, oh, it's gonna be floated in the podcast first from like the ESPN pods. Like, hey, you know who's really dominating? Cam
Cam Reddish.
Reddish. He might even start. I'm like, all right, man. But no, like in all seriousness, like I hope I hope that he's able to rehabilitate his value here and just find a home in the NBA. Obviously a guy that's been around. It's just again, my flags are like a Knicks team that was trying to win. Man. Like that was
Yeah.
a team that was like trying to be good, and Tibbs wouldn't play him. And Thibodeau is a psychotic coach who has weird qualifications for minutes. He plays guys 48 minutes. He doesn't play other guys. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what his qualifications are.
So let me sorry to interrupt you. Let me
No,
just
you're
give
good.
you some insight in regards to that. So what I had heard when the trade actually happened between Atlanta and New York is that Tibbs actually never wanted Cam. There was never a request for Cam. I don't know what the motivation was behind that trade, but that was a front office move that they then expected the coach to do it. And Tibbs kind of standoff against him, not because he had beef against Cam, but it was more like
Sure.
you didn't get the guy I wanted, you just got whoever you wanted. And obviously, I think he has a friendship with RJ Barrett, or he may have a friendship with somebody on that team. Like that was the internal politics. That's what I had heard from like the New York writers, that the internal politics. And obviously, New York Knicks are a CAA company. A lot of CAA executives are now working for the Knicks. Cam was a clutch client at the time. Like he's roster politics. That's a version of roster politics that happens, and so that's why I don't take too much stock into the Knicks stuff, because I think there was something beyond basketball that was going on with them too as well.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember he played a little bit on the Knicks, and I thought he was playing well. I remember he got a few minutes early. I remember he hit like a clutch three in one of the games for them. I forgot which one it was where he was closing. I think he was having a solid start, and then Tibbs just kind of took him out of the rotation. And then Portland, a team that should be rebuilding. Maybe they didn't know the Dame situation was coming, which I just throw all kinds of flags at that, because there's just no way you have a guy in-house. Damian Lillard is there watching every scout, every single rookie come into that building. You're telling me you had no idea that Dame wasn't going to request a trade? I'm not buying that at all. So again, you just let a young player go. Just nothing to lose, really. A qualifying offer is really just standard procedure, especially when you traded for him. But you traded Josh Hart for Josh Hart and the pick, obviously, but you trade Josh Hart, who's a really good NBA player, for Cam Reddish and the pick that became Chris Murray. I just to me that those are flags that I throw, but again, there's no harm. I mean, at the minimum 6'7" wing, if it works out, it's great. Cam, I believe, has a player option year 2, which again is standard when you go in for these type of guys. If it works out, then he obviously will come out. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But he's signed for the minimum where you can move him and stuff like that. But yeah, just a harmless. I have concerns. I hope I'm wrong with that. I hope he's able to crack the rotation. I just think we're a really deep team, and his role to me is like, so do you see Cam as a guy where you can throw him 10 minutes a game and he's productive? Like I feel like Cam.
I think he can play himself up to like being like a 15 to 20 minute guy, depending on how productive he is on offense. I mean, there's a window somewhere, like obviously because LeBron's going to miss some games, Anthony Davis is going to miss some games. Like there's going to be some window of opportunity where there's like a line. I know that they're going to test out like a Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, Cam Reddish, Taurean Prince, and like Anthony Davis line. Like they're going to try that. I'm sure they are. And I think initially we'll see what happens. We'll see what lineup combinations they try to use when it comes to this team. But is he going to play over Max? I don't know. Does he have the potential to play over Max? I think that's possible, only because he's played in the league a little bit longer. He's played minutes and he's played in some real life situations before too as well. He played in that Bucks playoff series, I think, that when Atlanta went on that run all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals or something like that a few years back. Like he's I'm on board with you. Low risk, high reward, honestly. And if it doesn't pan out, then it's over for Cam Reddish. That's basically what it is. But I have a feeling that they wouldn't have signed him unless they thought that they could turn him into something. Lakers been pretty good with hitting on guys like that.
100%. And that numbers I always look at with these type of guys is their catch and shoot stats, right? I think that's the important one. All the off the dribble stuff, that's the stuff that you're not really gonna get over here. And these aren't numbers that you have to put total stock into. There's context. I know every open shot isn't the same as another one. Just in Portland, 32% on this three is at almost 4 a game. In New York at 29%. 29% on almost at like 2.5 a game. So that's stuff to me. There's that's the stuff that he's got to improve, and maybe that's just something that comes with coming to a place where your role. And we'll see if he has I don't think he has guaranteed minutes, but I think it's a guy that Cam. The money was going to be the same everywhere, right? To me, for him, so he must have looked at role and situation and saw that he has a chance to gain a rotation spot here. That's why he would pick here. Obviously, the clutch ties make it, a little bit more attractive. It's just if the money's the same, then a guy like Cam Reddish is going to choose opportunity over everything, and he believes he can play here. So we'll see with him.
Yeah, I agree. And realistically, if you're a Cam, if you were in his shoes, you're probably looking at the guys that are on the roster right now. You're like, okay, if I can probably outplay Max Christie, I can get minutes. You know what I mean? He's not. He probably knows. I'm not getting minutes over the guys that got paid more than me, which are Gabe and Torian. I'm not going to be able to get more minutes over them, barring something happening to them. So I've got to compete with the guys that are at my salary level, which are the Jackson Hayeses, the Max Christies, whoever else, the other two veteran signings end up being. So that's why I'm like, yeah, you know what? I could see him getting some minutes. But look, we'll see what happens, bro. He could be good. He could be bad. He could be inconsistent. That's not something that's unheard of. We've seen Dennis have 2 great games and then have 3 bad games and then all of a sudden go back to being good. That's what a role player is. So hopefully he figures it out. And then, next guy, Jackson Hayes. This was a surprise signing because neither you nor I had him on the radar as he's a center, but he's also a power forward. There was a stretch of time where they were playing, the Pelicans were playing Jackson Hayes at the 4, I want to say next to Jonas Valanciunas. And this dude was he was going crazy in transition. He was just running hard every single time in transition, dunking the ball every chance that he got. He'd attempt to block anything that had a heartbeat, basically, going to the rim. But again, another guy, young kid, high motor. I've talked to Pelicans writers. Their issue with him is sometimes the IQ can be very sketchy at times. His decision-making, foul prone, if he's trying to go after too many shots, trying to block too many shots and fouling guys. But he's another guy like Cam Reddish that was consistently inconsistent. So good athlete, has some talent there, not a shooter, obviously not floor spacing guy, but very active rebounder, that sort of thing, like that Wenyen Gabriel kind of role that we think about. But wasn't consistent. But maybe he finds some consistency on this Lakers roster. What do you think about that signing?
So it's another very strange situation to me, Vinay. He's an 8th pick in 2019, if I have that correctly.
Same draft.
Hayes,
as Reddish and Rui. Rui. Back to back. Yeah.
So not even extending the qualifying offer is not normal. I just want to put that out. That is very strange. That's not something that's precedented that happens around the league. Usually the qualifying offer for a guy who's at least shown he's an NBA player, right?
Yeah.
Jackson Hayes has a lot of struggles on the court. He's not a great, drop coverage big and all that type of stuff. But he's a guy that's shown he's an NBA player. His highlights if you go watch them, I'm sure Laker fans have gone and done that. Looks like the most athletic freaking big that you'll see, catches lobs, and his hands are freaking almost above the backboard. He's a big dude that can freaking jump. He's also his pick and roll stats, Vinay, are insane. As a pick and roll man, he's in the 96th percentile. He scores at 1.54 points per possession on pick and rolls. He doesn't do it too often with New Orleans, but the Lakers are a heavy pick and roll team. I just again, another guy that I'm wondering, can he fit a 15-minute role to where he knows his role is just to run, jump, and dunk? I think he can fit that. Now, there's a
Mhm.
reason why he was let go in New Orleans, right? Like I think there's an absolute reason. I think this is a guy though that I thought would go for more than the minimum. Like he was not
For sure.
in our database in terms of like a guy that would be available, in my opinion. Especially when you look at the numbers centers are getting. I mean, like for him to go for what he went for, I was kind of shocked. But he just has like he's a raw toolbox that if you can define that correctly, you'll get a really good player. I've seen comps to JaVale and stuff like that. We'll see on that. JaVale obviously I think had his struggles as well, but another just super athletic big. I think Jackson Hayes kind of fits that. Went lottery. You just talked about Cam Reddish. Guys don't go lottery for no reason.
Yeah.
And Jackson Hayes is definitely a skilled guy coming out of college. So we'll see with him. Just is like his tape doesn't really match to me why he's a minimum signing. I think there's a lot of other stuff going on with him. But
Yeah.
what do you think of the Jackson Hayes situation?
Yeah, so I think he got let go just because of the Pelicans kind of obviously like the money that he wants probably doesn't match up with what the Pelicans want to give him. So he probably took the option of what, I'm just going to explore the market if you guys because usually they don't just not give you qualifying offers. There's like a discussion with the player. Like
Mm-hmm.
the team usually doesn't make that decision independently because you don't want to hurt like the agency relationship by catching him off guard by something like that. So he's with Bill Duffy.
Mm-hmm.
Before I get into some of the off-ball stuff, like or off the court stuff, 47 games last season for New Orleans. Obviously, with Zion there, he's going to eat a lot of minutes at the 4. They have Jonas, he's at the 5. Trey Murphy, fantastic stretch 4 player for them. He's also out there.
Yep.
I think they had Willie Hernan Gomez, which they were using. Pelicans were a team that needed floor spacing because Zion is not a floor spacer. And they opted for guys to space the floor at those 4 and 5 positions a lot of times. But they did find some value in Jackson. He played 47 games last season, played 70 games a year before, played 60 games
Mm-hmm.
a year before that, and played 64 games before. Again, another guy that's pretty durable, plays a lot of games. Like I said, great athlete, that sort of stuff. But I think the off of the court stuff probably affected him. He had a we don't get into it because it's not basketball really, but he had a DV situation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's some viral video about cops tasing him or something crazy like that happened
Yeah.
a while back too as well. I don't know. I haven't heard about attitude issues with him, but he it might be an attitude thing, like a guy who doesn't know what his place is with the team. These are young kids. These are 23-year-old
Sure.
kids that we're talking about. It will manifest themselves in different ways, and it can be in the form of beefing with your teammates. It can be something that happens off the court with a fan or something like that. These kind of things can happen. And it's a different generation of players, younger generation of players. So it'll be interesting. But the basketball talent is there. The athleticism is there.
Yeah.
He plays hard. Like you said, as a role man, like we played against him. Like we've seen him finish plays against the Lakers, and it's just like, dude, this guy is like, he should be way better. Like he should be getting offers that Mitchell Robinson maybe gets, or maybe an offer like a guy like Nick Claxton gets. At least 10 million a year, 8, 9, 10 million a year, and he just hasn't been able to find it. And I think that's probably why he got let go. Again, low risk, high reward. If he comes in, gives us solid minutes where he's running hard up and down the floor the same way Wenyon did, finishing plays, grabbing rebounds, offensive, defensive, blocking, help side blocking shots. You mentioned he's not a good drop big. I think that's a good, that drop big thing, reading that coverage is a great example of knowing like kind of, does he have the IQ? Like is he a high IQ guy, or does he need to
Sure.
be coached into those situations a little bit more? And I think he's a player like Cam. They need to be coached into into what his reads need to be. And I could totally see him being in a position where he's not, we did this with JaVale. JaVale wasn't in drop all the time. JaVale would come
Sure.
out and guard the dude that he was his guard. And honestly, like Raj, like Jackson could do that. Like I kind of like that. Like if we had to run a lineup where all 5 guys need to be able to switch out to the perimeter, Jackson makes me think of a guy that we could do that. Can he clamp people? I don't think so, but he's mobile. And actually, that's something that I forgot to mention. A lot of these guys, one of the things you and I have both said offline, and I think maybe on a space also, is in the modern NBA, your defensive big, back in the day, it was always about rim protection, rim protection, rim protection. And to some degree it is. But nowadays, defensive mobility is huge. Can you cut off the driving lane before the player can get there? Can you get to that spot before the other guy? You've seen how people have to deal with Jokic, right? Like when we put Rui Hachimura on Jokic, We're like, don't let him take it from the 3-point line and just be able to go right to the
Sure.
rim. You cut him off, you cut his lane off. And AD is phenomenal at doing stuff like that too as well, and taking away driving angles. Jackson can do that for us. And if all he's doing is kind of mimicking the stuff that we want AD to do, that AD does already because he's a defensive player of the year caliber player, that's great. It's a guy that he can learn from, he can mimic stuff from. So I like it. A lot of upside, low risk. And if he's not good, we cut him and go get somebody else instead.
Exactly. And that's why, to me, he has more of a chance in Cam Reddish, in my opinion, than like I think Cam, his adjustment will be a little bit more trying to just like, hey, this is a very specialized role. Here's 10 minutes. I think Jackson Hayes, very, hey, just protect the rim, jump at as much as you can, run the floor hard. And he has a wide catch radius. I mean, if you watch his highlights, you can catch it from anywhere. The lobs can be way off the mark, and he'll just still gobble that up and throw it down. And again, I think he has real roll gravity, right? He's a guy who can screen, and you have to account for his roll gravity, or else he'll, dunk on you. And he has a lot of dunks on people as well. Well, he'll like catch it at the free throw line and rise over them. But yeah, I think he has real roll gravity. I think he's an actual real lob threat. I don't know our last lob threat that was like that. Mo Bamba wasn't really a lob threat. He's more of a perimeter big.
Pick and pop guy, yeah.
Yeah, more of a pick and pop guy. AD hasn't really been able to be a lob threat in a while because he's the center in those situations, right? And a lot of times the paint is packed. Andre Drummond wasn't really a lob threat. Marcus Sol was not a lob threat at all. JaVale, I guess, was the last guy. I don't know if
JaVale and Dwight, probably. Yeah,
JaVale and Dwight, and even Dwight at that old age wasn't as crazy of as much of a lob gravity, I guess. But Jackson Hayes does huge catch radius and lob threat ability. You're going to see a lot of times where LeBron drives and Jackson Hayes driving from the baseline gets a lob. Like those are the type of plays that Jackson Hayes eats off of. The guy, again, just all the tools are there to me. I'm interested to see if they can kind of mold that into a winning type of player. And I think it's tough, Vinay, to get these young guys. 20. How old is Jackson Hayes? Like 23.
23, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, hasn't got a second contract, right? Getting those guys to be like buy into a 10-minute role.
Yeah.
And when you're in that 10-minute role, you're doing all the dirty work. And a lot of times it's thankless. Like that stuff is thankless. You get nothing in the papers for you for doing that, unless the team is winning at a really high level. But even that point, like you're not on the front page. Like, like you know what I mean? So you're doing all the dirty work. Your job is to rebound, to run the floor, get shots when you can. And that's tough to me for a young guy who, again, has not been paid in the league. That's a tough thing to buy in, which is why you mostly see vets in those types of situations. But I'm interested. Another just super talent. I think at the minimum, Bobby Marks was like, he gave the Lakers an A, and when he saw us get Jackson Hayes, moved it up to an A+, which I'll take that forever what that is. But
for sure. I mean, ESPN's not ever really. I mean, obviously ESPN loves to gas up the Lakers and everybody hates it, but like they have their fair share.
Down later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they built the Iverson thing. But the other thing also I like to say about Jackson is that like I want to say from the games that I've seen, the Pelicans games I've seen, he's kind of an active cutter. Like you don't have to tell him to cut, and he does cut to the basket. Like he'll dive to the basket, weak side, and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's also a really nice one. I look at him as a more talented Wenyen Gabriel, like way more natural talent than Wenyen Gabriel. And Wenyen, for all of what he is, was like fantastic for the Lakers in spots like when we needed him to be. And if you can get a more talented version of him, like he's not even as skinny, I would say, as what like Wenyen's pretty thin. Like I would say like what's it called? Jackson's probably a little bit more physical than Wenyen is to some degree. Like he can absorb the collisions and stuff like that Wenyen was having some struggle with slightly bigger dudes. And so if you look at it that way, like you think about all three of these guys, same draft: Cam Reddish, Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes. A lot of these teams probably drafted these guys thinking, okay, maybe we don't get a star, but we're going to get like a high-level role player. You know what I mean? Like a sixth most important guy, fifth most important guy out of this pick. And that's what a lot of teams think when they draft that high in the lottery. And, they just didn't land. Rui gets buried because the Wizards have some of the most horrendous drafts I've ever seen. They keep drafting the same exact player at the same exact position. Cam, he's stuck behind DeAndre Hunter. He's stuck behind Bojan Bogdanovic. He's stuck behind, all the guards all the wing guys that they had over there. in Atlanta, and then obviously he bounces around. New York already has a roster. Jackson Hayes gets drafted, has some productivity, but is not consistent. Then they draft Zion. Then they have Trey Murphy. So it's like he's already getting buried. So the Lakers are finding these type of dudes and putting them in positions. And Rui was a perfect example of that. That's exactly what happened. We gave Rui the minutes. We said, look, you're not a star, but we need you to be a productive role player. We don't need you to be the best player on the floor. Just be really good at what you're good at. And that worked out for the Lakers. And so Cam can be a great defender, knock down a couple threes, great. Jackson can run the floor, crash the glass, play defense, cut, finish at the rim, great. We're maximizing what they are. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, and I think another point, again, it just goes to how deep the roster is. Like I do think this can be another pod, I guess, but I think the Lakers are still going to try to get another center, right? I think they're going to try and go out and get another veteran kind of center to play at that spot, because I think Jackson Hayes is still looked at as more of a project, as a kind of raw talent, not a guy you want to rely on fully. But it's a team that doesn't need Jackson Hayes to play, right? I mean, they're deep at almost every position. It's crazy. I was looking at the depth chart today, and I was like, man, 6 months ago, this was like Patrick Beverley at like the 3. You know what I mean? But I mean, even look at last summer, right? Like we were doing the depth chart last year. It's like, hey, Troy Brown has to play. Like he just has to play, and he has to be good for this team to do anything, right? Yeah. And obviously Troy Brown was solid. That was a win. That was a bet though. Troy Brown coming in on the minimum this season. Like you don't need Cam Reddish to play. It'd be a plus. It'd be great if he was good. Yeah. We don't need him to play. Jackson Hayes again. It'd be a plus. I think that's a great on the margin kind of move. If he's able to be your backup center, great. I think the Lakers are going to go out and try to get another one of those guys. But again, these guys are low risk, kind of high reward type guys that are trying to fit to a team that's already deep, that's solid, that has continuity, that's building off of last season. And these guys are coming in to add to that. They're not coming in with roles that are promised. They don't have any kind of designated role yet on the team, and that's something they're going to have to earn every minute of playing time. And I think that's what you need. Like if you came in and just gave Jackson Hayes the starting center spot, it's probably a different player that you get than a guy that has to come in and earn every single minute. So we'll see with them. I think again, just on the minimum, you can't be upset about that. I think Jackson Hayes is a guy that both of us thought has the talent at least to go for more. You don't usually get the 8th pick in 2019 who's 23 years old, who's shown that he's at least an NBA player, that just does not even get the qualifying offer. I think that's just unprecedented stuff that you'll see.
And I think one of the things is also like we're going to start seeing this more. If you've been paying attention to the NBA, what's happening, like there's a lot of talented kids coming in, and a lot of them are now all like the same size. Like every kid is 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", and the difference really is do they have motor? Do they have skill? Can they shoot? Can they not shoot? What is their NBA skill? And this kind of churn that we're seeing with these rosters, where guys that are just 2-3 years into the league have to get. They're getting the qualifying offers pulled because the team drafted another guy the very next year at the same position that needs minutes. That's going to become a thing. And I think that's going to become more of a thing. So for a team like the Lakers to be able to recognize this, okay, we talked about, Jesse and Joey getting impact guys off just whatever draft positions they have. Well, now this expands their ability, because if Jesse and Joey had Cam Reddish pretty high on their draft boards back in the day, when they were doing the trade, or if Jackson was there, or if Rui was there, then now they do actually get more input with the folks that are involved with these trades or these free agent signings. And so, again, as a Laker fan, because we do trust their decision-making, they've been phenomenal when it's coming to draft, they now get to exercise their power with these second draft guys. You basically get a redraft version of these guys. And they were right with Lonnie. They did, they're right with Troy Brown, he was a productive player. Again, we haven't hit the super jackpot with these guys, these redraft guys yet, but we've gotten really productive players out of them. And that's really all we want in these roles. So I'm on board with you. I've heard that the 15th roster spot is going to be the second big. I would not be surprised. And it's going to be somebody who's non-guaranteed. I would not be surprised if Tristan Thompson is that guy. Again, I'm sure the Braun folks and the Clutch folks would be like, oh, Vinay's making fun of Clutch. No, I'm not making fun of Clutch. I'm telling you, I would not be surprised. Tristan's not a really old dude. He knows how to play. I've been told he's a really great locker room guy. He acts like a vet, not including whatever he does off the court, obviously. But if the Lakers can't really get the big that they want, I think he's probably an option available for them. I definitely don't want to see Tristan on ESPN anymore talking about basketball. So I would rather him find a spot on a team.
Sure.
But they might go, I think they were probably hoping they could get Eric Gordon on a minimum, but obviously he went to the Suns, and he was a former Rob Pelinka client. So I think they'll probably try to aim for another, wing shooter type, 3-and-D type of guy with that 14th spot. And I think that 15th spot will be, typically the Lakers don't use it because they save it for buyout stuff.
Yep.
But because, you want to add some more vet guys, you'll probably see them use it. And it'll be somebody who's willing to do a non-guaranteed. Maybe Wenyen again, for all we know. But we'll see.
I think we can come out and say it. Tristan Thompson will be on this team next year. Like I'd be shocked if he wasn't on this roster next year.
Yeah.
I went back and like watched his post exit interview, and it was pretty clear. He was told like he's like, yeah, I hope I can be back. I was like, you don't really hear that from a guy that was just signed, but obviously he had that great game. He had the one good game, right? The game four. Game 4 against Denver.
Yeah.
Literally the last one. I'm not saying that doesn't make you earn a spot. It's just
for sure.
The way that's kind of it's played out. But yeah, I feel like Tristan will be the 14th guy, or like the 15th guy, and then we'll see if they get a center or something to add to that.
But, and he's not a bad player. Like he's like in a specialized role. He's a great rebounder. Like that for sure. He's a great rebounder. Solid motor. A great screener. He's a fantastic screener. A lot of people make fun of Rudy Gobert for not, the whole screen assist thing. I think that's silly too as well. But great screening is like you need that out of big guys to run a quality offense. And so, willing screener, great screener, moves without the ball, that sort of thing. Can be shaky at times, finishing at the rim. But he's only 6'11". He's not. I think he's the same height as Jackson Hayes. Not a heavyweight, traditional heavyweight, but he's a physical dude. Like he will meet you at the point of whatever that post-up collision is supposed to be. So that's good to hear. But yeah, those are all that's everything so far. We'll find out what the 14th and 15th roster spot is, but I do want to carve out, we have about 15 minutes here. I do want to carve out some time to talk about Summer League. Summer League's coming up, starts tomorrow, California Classic up in Sacramento. And then obviously the Vegas one is going to be the big deal because Victor Wembanyama is going to be playing, and it's just going to be a big thing first weekend. It always is. Vegas is always a great time. We've got all the guys that we signed. Max Christie is playing. Colin Castleton is going to be playing. He was one of our two-ways. Des Moines Hodge is playing. He was one of our two-ways. Our first-round rookie, Jalen Hood-Schifino, is going to be playing. And then our second-round rookie, Maxwell Lewis, are going to be playing. Cole Swider still has a two-way with us.
My guy,
Yeah, Cole Swider. We're hoping to see some improvement from him. Scottie Pippen's going to be on there. Even though he's not on a two-way, he's still part of our Summer League roster. Who are you looking to see make a name for themselves on this Lakers roster this Summer League?
I think you have to go with the second-year guy. To me, it's Max Christie. He's a guy that's being not penciled in, but kind of written in for like a rotation spot. And again, it's not the numbers to me. I think you can tell when a second-year guy kind of understands, like, hey, I'm the NBA player, right? I'm a rotation guy. Like, I'm not better than this, but like I know my role in terms of I'm a guy that's been through NBA defenses, that's seen real NBA closeouts, that's seen NBA game speed. Like the Summer League speed should be slower to you. It should be a situation where your reads are quicker and things like that. So that's what I'm looking for. I really want to see if Max has taken another step. And again, it's not about like his points, or he doesn't have to average 25 a game. But like, when the shot's not going in, Vinay, can you get to the line? Can you use your physicality that you've bulked up? I think he's at like 200 pounds now or something like that. Like, can you use that to your advantage to get to the line? What calls are called now in the NBA. Can you use that to your advantage? Can you get to your spot and, elevate to get over a contest? That type of stuff to me is what I'm looking for him. And then the two guys that were picked, Jalen Hood-Schifino and Maxwell Lewis. Maxwell to me is the most raw kind of player. So we'll see with him. But Jalen Hood-Schifino, very mature game. I feel like should translate. Usually point guards do really well in Summer League. Guys with good ball handling can get to their spot and score. And then Colin Castleton, 5-year college player, Vinay. So like, he should have his.
Was it a COVID year for him? I don't know.
Well, yes,
that's probably why he got the 5th year. But yeah.
Right. But my point with that is has the NBA body, right? Should be a lot more mature, not just in terms of personality, but his game. Should understand who he is as a player, especially at that age. Should be more NBA ready than most. Hopefully to see, like, do you remember Zubac's rookie year, like rookie Summer League? I don't know if you remember that, but it was really solid. But it was like a really solid Summer League where like he really kind of like, oh wow, we found this big man at, I think Zoo was picked like 32 or whatever,
Yeah,
30
he's
or
pretty.
something like
He
that.
was just top of the second round or something. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. We're like, oh, we found this like really nice big man who has post moves, who can play, and then we traded him for nothing. But like Colin Castleton, I feel like we'll see if he can kind of produce at that level. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm just excited for basketball to be back. But what are you looking for tomorrow?
Yeah, so I'm hoping for the guy that I wanted. Like I'm going to be tracking because I'm going to be like, all right, I need to see some stuff out of this dude because I think he's going to be important to the team. Is same on board with you, Max. Like I want to see what his progressions have been. Like I think in the last pod we talked about, Taylor Horton Tucker famously said I shouldn't be here. He told somebody that I shouldn't be here when it came to
In
having
the G
to do all
League.
the other stuff. Yeah, in the G League. I need that attitude out of Max Christie. Like I need to see that sort of behavior out of Max Christie. Like, okay, he's too good to be playing in summer league, but these are where he's going to get his reps in and stuff like that. So I think that's an expectation that I have of him. But I will say this: that's who I expect. But the guy that I think might get a viral clip out of the Lakers, social media and Laker fans is Maxwell Lewis. Is the other Max? Because
you've been on him the whole time.
No, he. So I remember I went last year to and we drafted that kid out of, I want to say it was Boston University or Boston College, if you remember. He's not with the team anymore. I forgot what his name was. He's a light-skinned kid, but he was really good in the mid-range. And he kept so I was watching him in summer league. I was in Vegas, and I'm watching him every time he got the ball. Now, one of the things that folks don't know, like summer league is unstructured. Like you don't see like real offenses run. A lot of it can be ISO, pick and roll, just spamming pick and roll the entire game, or it's just really bad offensive basketball that's just stealing the ball on both sides. And
Unstructured,
very unstructured. And I forgot what RJ something. What was his name?
Yes.
Did you look him up? Did you find it?
I'm trying to find him, but I know who you're talking about. The guy who just goes and takes his mid-range pull up every single time, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and I was just like, bro, this kid is good, dude. He's just like, he's scoring every single time. Reminded me of like a lot of like Jordan Clarkson's just kind of style of basketball.
Sure.
And he looked good in summer league. Obviously, he didn't make the team, but like he looked good in summer league. So it's like Maxwell Lewis, obviously bigger dude. He's a bigger player. I think he has loads of offensive talent. He is a guy that like I could see him show up to a game and he'll get some minutes. And he's not passing to his teammates. Like he's probably shooting the ball. He's gonna ISO a couple dudes, and I could definitely see him getting a viral clip. I like him. All the people I trust that have eyes that I trust, they like him too as well. I wouldn't be surprised. I think we'll see like the Colin Castletons make great plays, do hard stuff.
Sure.
I think your guy Cole Swider. Like I hope he comes in and just lights it up. He's very, very, very possible that he can come in, drain like 6 threes. As the talk of the town all over again. But I'm going to be watching Max Christie to see how he does, to see if he makes some improvements, like in terms of like getting to the rim, being strong, finishing, all the stuff you described. But I'm on Maxwell Lewis, bro. I'm hitching my wagon to him. I could be completely wrong, which I don't really care about because I'm going to be high on everybody until I'm completely wrong about all of them.
Sure.
But I'm putting my chips on his side. I think we'll get something viral out of him at some point in the summer league.
Yeah, and then the other guy on the two-way was Demoy Hodge as well, right?
Yeah,
was a guy that I'm really interested in as well. Another multiple, I think 4 years in college. I believe he's like 24 years old. One of the best shooters. Very Cole Swider-ish, where he's like one of the best shooters, I believe, in the draft. Just again, very old and not very sized, but I think he's a good defender as well. Coming out was rumored that he's a really good point of attack defender. I like these guys. I feel like these guys know who they are in the league. Again, have their NBA body. For the most part, guys that still have to, do their weight training and stuff like that. But for the most part, have their kind of NBA bodies. That dude's jump shot, I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a super quick release, kind of. It's like a really, really quick release on him. And I think he shot like 7 threes a game, shot 40% from there. Now the guy, like again, for summer league, you just want to see if they have NBA skills, right? You're looking for players. Do they have a singular NBA skill? And I think at least with shooting, that's the one that you can see if it can translate. But I'm interested in him, and should be fun, man. Cole Swider, second year. People forget how much of a cult hero Cole Swider was last year. That dude was like draining threes, transition pull-up ones, got hurt early in the year. I've talked about this many times. He was in our rotation game like 2. Like he's a guy that was playing. That says more about the
bro. Our team was so bad. I don't think people understand. Like you said it at the beginning, but it's like free agency compared to last year,
Oh
compared to
my
this year,
goodness.
is night and day. And this is not even to get mad at the
Sure.
players, right? Because I think it was a front office thing, and they were trying to
Mhm.
wait for the deal that they wanted. But it's just
Right.
like, bro, it's like again, like the Braun thing is perfect. First year we get Russ. Braun posts working out with Russ in the offseason. Second year we have Russ. Complete dead silence. No enthusiasm about going into the season. Now third season, Russ is obviously gone, and this is not just Russ specific. This is team. He was waiting
Right,
on
right.
to make moves or whatever it was, and now he's posting all the young kids. And Braun, you wouldn't think that he would post the young guys because he's an old dude. He's like, I don't have time for these young guys. Like, where are the guys that are going to help me win a championship? But he is, he's
Yep.
supportive of that. It's awesome to see that too as well. Um, in Vegas, we were watching Cole Swider, and bro, if he hit 1-3, we thought he would, like Laker fans in the gym. I can tell you, like we thought he was going to hit because I went for a whole week. Like
Yeah.
every time he hit 1 or 2, we thought he was going to hit like 8 in the game,
Right.
and they started feeding him, trying to chuck it. Everybody's getting all buzzy and excited and stuff like that. But I think
Yeah.
the ball will be a little. I think it'll be a little bit different
Yeah.
this time.
And again, Cole hasn't really. I mean, he played a few. I think he gotten in a few games. Like, hasn't
Yeah,
he didn't play too much. But again, I'm not expecting much from him. I just don't count his. I mean, he played in South Bay, so maybe he has a little bit of experience. But Max is the guy I'm really looking for. Max is
yeah,
the guy that got real NBA minutes. Was in the Lakers practice. I think Max traveled to all the playoff games, right? So he must have
yeah,
been all the
yeah.
in
He was
all the
there.
practices. It was in all the practices and stuff. So I'm looking for him to just show that he belongs to me. And like guys who've been in the league should be able to show a level of like they're on a kind of not different tier, but just know how to understand how to manipulate a defense better than I think rookies can. So we'll see with him. But I'm excited, man. Again, Jalen Hood-Schifino, 17th pick in the draft. Like usually you don't go to the conference finals and get a pick like that. Like it's just not normal. Usually you're a higher seed, so you're picking at the 25, 26 range. You got a guy, a little bit outside the lottery, and those guys usually expect not only to play, but have like an actual, role promised to them. And
Yeah.
JHS doesn't have that, but I'm sure he sees himself as that type of guard, as that type of NBA guard from day one. We'll see if he can kind of show that in summer league. But and then Maxwell Lewis is the guy that everyone's super high on. So we'll see. We'll see
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I'm sure. I'm sure the fans that hear this are gonna be like, if he looks terrible, they're gonna be. You remember you like Maxwell Lewis? You thought he'd be the guy.
Yeah.
Like, look, man, you could tell me who's the other kid that's on. You could tell me LJ Figueroa. You could ask me about Alex Fudge. You could ask me. You could ask me about. I'm not even gonna butcher that. Sacha Kilea Jones. Like I could. You could ask me about any of them. I think they're gonna be superstars. Not superstars, but I think they'll be productive players. But so I'm gonna rock with my guys, and we'll see.
Sure.
We'll see what happens. Hopefully, we get some entertaining basketball. Hopefully, we get some wins. It'd be
Yep.
nice to be summer league champs or something like that again. That'd be real cool.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a good time though, man. It'll be a lot of fun. Raji, did you have anything else you want to discuss with the folks?
I think that was it, man. Summer League tomorrow, and then next week on Friday. I feel like the California Classic is like a preseason to the Summer League, kind of.
Yeah.
No one really counts those games. Those are kind of just cardio games, and not every team is even involved in that, right?
Yeah.
Every team goes to the. I think all 30 teams go to Vegas now. But yeah, it's exciting times, man. Free agency couldn't have gone any better. We're not waiting on anybody.
Yes,
We're
I'm
not
so
waiting
glad that we're
on
not waiting on anyone. Yeah.
we're not waiting on Kyrie to make a decision or some or whatever that is, or how the Clippers are hanging on to the threads of James Harden. And imagine having your fate in James Harden's like hands. That's a dangerous place to be, man. Your fate is in the hands of James Harden. Like that's a very tough place to be.
It's going to, obviously we didn't discuss the Dame trade and all that stuff.
Right.
That's not, we didn't want to do that for this pod.
Sure,
we'll save that for, in the future, once all these trades and stuff are done, and we'll figure out just kind of what the landscape of the Western Conference really is. So we know what the Lakers are up against. But again, I'm with you. Like we'll get sort of an appetizer with the California Classic. And I think Vegas is where the guys, the kids go out there to really try to make a name for themselves. If not for the team they're on, then some team that may eventually pick them up. And I think it's a really great time. You and I will try and find some time to maybe do a live pod together when we're out there in Vegas. If not, if not, there'll probably be a little bit of a break unless there's some serious Lakers related breaking news. But outside of that, we just want to thank everybody in this space who ended up watching this video. We hope that you're having a wonderful 4th of July weekend, long weekend.
Yep.
Enjoy the fireworks, enjoy the time with family, friends, barbecue, pool parties, whatever it is. Raj and I will be out in summer league. So if you are there and you see us, we are regular dudes. Like, say hello, because we don't know everybody. And like last time I went to summer league, like I had people like, "Yo, Vinay, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, what's up?" Like I always love having conversations about Lakers stuff or just basketball in general. I'm sure you and I will be talking to some other writers, both Lakers and non-Lakers related, that are out there. But we hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. We appreciate all the support. The podcast numbers continue to go up. The YouTube numbers continue to go up. The spaces continue to be very active. And we hope that you guys enjoy us banter about Lakers stuff, and squeeze out as much intel and conversation that we can in it. And we appreciate you. So we hope you have a wonderful evening or a wonderful day where you are. And if nothing else, we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Thanks, everyone. Peace.